The Pima County Sheriff says they've ruled out any family members as suspects in the Nancy Guthrie case. Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 4. I'm Tram Mai.
And I'm Troy Hayden. Right now, investigators are awaiting DNA results on a glove found near Nancy's home. The 84-year-old mother of host Savannah Guthrie was believed to be taken from her Tucson home more than 2 weeks ago now. Investigators say the glove being tested could match the gloves of the masked man seen on surveillance video outside Nancy's home.
The Pima County Sheriff also denying any reports that this was a burglary gone wrong. It comes as we're learning more information about one of the people detained and then released over the weekend. 12 News journalist Sean Rice has been following this story from the beginning. And Sean, what are you learning this afternoon?
Yeah, Tram and Troy, good afternoon to you both. You may remember Friday night. This was a big night in this investigation when very late at night, law enforcement were executing a search warrant here in the Catalina foothills area. It was this home just over my shoulder. It's only about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's own home. They were also taking a pretty close look at a Range Rover that was parked at a Culver's just a couple of miles away from here as well. Law enforcement, both the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department, has told us that that night they detained and questioned multiple people. Everybody eventually was released. We can now report that one of those people detained and questioned and then released is a 37-year-old man here from Tucson who has a lengthy rap sheet of prior criminal charges. We are not naming him because he has not been arrested or charged with any crime in relation to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. The last big law enforcement movement in the Nancy Guthrie disappearance involved federal agents removing multiple people from this home in the Catalina foothills area, just a 5-minute drive from Nancy Guthrie's home. This morning I visited that home, a woman peeking through the blinds. Can I just talk to you real quick? But the woman declined to speak with us. But neighbors tell us the woman's son, a 37-year-old man who we are not naming, was detained and questioned in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. This man is no stranger to the inside of a Pima County courtroom. He was arrested back in 2022, later convicted of drug distribution charges, and he was sentenced to 4 years on probation. He was arrested again last year in possession of fentanyl and a gun. His probation officer filed a petition to revoke his probation after his arrest, but a judge allowed him to remain on the streets and not be sent to the Pima County Jail. This morning, we attempted to reach him by phone. I'm calling because we have reason to believe that you may have been detained and questioned on Friday night, either at your mom's house or at a nearby Culver's outside of a Range Rover you may own. Just questioned by law enforcement in relation to the Nancy Guthrie missing persons case. We'd love to speak with you. We even visited his defense attorney's Tucson law office. We have reason to believe he may have been questioned in relation to the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping case, maybe on Friday night when a search warrant was served at the home of his mother. We believe he may have been staying there at the time, and again, was just detained and questioned. But to this point, neither person has gotten back to us. And today I reached out to both the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI, asking them to publicly identify the person in which we are reporting on. Again, this was a person who we know was questioned and detained on Friday night. The Sheriff's Office told us that they could not release the names of any person who may be under investigation in regards to this case. Interestingly enough, they told us that that is being done at the request of the FBI. Of course, we will keep pushing for answers on where Nancy Guthrie is. We'll send it back to you guys.
And Sean, another development that happened over the weekend was another set of gloves that were found somewhat nearby Nancy's home. Can you talk about that and the DNA that was also found on those gloves?
Yeah, so they found a glove. It was a blackened colored glove a couple of miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home, according to what they've released to us at this point. They told us that the inside of that glove came back to some DNA of an unknown male profile. They just don't know whose DNA that was. They sent that glove and the DNA to a lab in Florida. They expected the results of that back. And what they plan to do was upload those DNA, that profile, into CODIS. It's a law enforcement database that has DNA profiles of people who have been convicted of crimes, may have had DNA removed from previous crime scenes all throughout our country. They told us that that process would take about 24 hours, but at last check, there's been no update on if that DNA has been a match to any individual person at this point in the investigation.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to find out. And also in both of these cases where they followed up leads, they went in heavy. They went in with SWAT teams. It wasn't just a knock on the door at what's going on. It'll be interesting to see when this is all over over what tips they were working on. So, Sean, thank you for the reporting down there. As the search for Nancy Guthrie continues, download the 12 Plus streaming app to see our latest coverage of all these developments and all the breaking updates.